Hi everyone, good morning. I hope you're all doing well. My name is Kelly. I own Dogkind. I specialize in confidence building for very fearful dogs, and I'm continuing this week to talk about how to use enrichment to build your fearful dog's confidence. Let's jump into today's topic. Now, how are we going to use enrichment to build confidence? Why is that possible? First, we have to define confidence, and this is a little bit of review from last week. Confidence behaviorally can be defined as an effect of a history of success. I'm going to try to bring my face in here a little bit. There we go. Where our dogs learn that they can use behavior to get good things. And for really sensitive dogs, this is a big deal. They learn that they can use their behavior not just to try to avoid scary things, but to make good things happen. In order for this to produce what we might think of as confidence, we want them to learn that it works for them often, over and over they succeed, and it works in lots of places. It's not just one, location like their safe space maybe where they can be successful and make good things happen. Now, if we think of enrichment as being a setup we provide for our dogs that allows them to make good things happen and succeed, access positive reinforcement, what does that do behaviorally for our dogs? Well, enrichment involves behavior, right? They have to use their behavior to manipulate toys, to search out treats, whatever game you've set up for them. And if you've done this well, then the behaviors that your dog is using in their enrichment games will be positively reinforced over and over again. And again, behaviorally, we can think about confidence as a side effect or an effect of this repeated history of positive reinforcement, of succeeding, of using behavior to get good stuff. So what do we need to do to use enrichment to build our dog's confidence? Number one, of course, is to find something your dog will do, some kind of enrichment. This is what we covered last week, so check out those videos. Find enrichment your dog will do and enjoy. This week's topic is generalization then. We want our dogs to not just know how to make good things happen and therefore feel confident in one location like their safe space or one situation. We want them to learn that the world is safe and they have skills they can use to produce good things in lots of different settings. So we want them to learn I can make good things happen everywhere. There we go. And then number three, we'll add variety to the game eventually, so your dog is using more kinds of behaviors. You might also then get some insight into some things they prefer that you weren't aware of before. We'll add variety. That'll be next week's topic. And then finally, and you don't have to do this in this order. You could start thinking about this right away, but I usually reserve this until we have something the dog will enjoy and can enjoy it in several locations, is we can start thinking about what enrichment activities would be most practical and useful for getting target behaviors or behaviors that will be helpful for the dog when navigating the world. Okay, so back to generalization. This is teaching our dogs that they can win the game anywhere, that they can succeed anywhere. They have tools that work in lots of places. And there are two pieces of this puzzle that I can give you that I think you can use on your own to help you make progress. One is use props to aid generalization, and that's what we'll cover a little bit today. And the other is slow it way down. However fast you think your dog can do, can take on enrichment challenges. Like increasing challenges, increasing difficulty, whatever you think your dog can do, slow it down by a factor of at least 10. Most of us, that's where we get stuck, is trying to ask for too much too soon. But let's talk about props. Why use props when trying to use enrichment to build confidence? Using some kind of prop can make generalization easier. In other words, it can help our dogs sort of expand their behaviors that are involved in enrichment activities and basically teach them they can play enrichment games in lots of different places. It's easier to do, or it can be easier to do, if you have props, some kind of prop. Why is that? Well, it's something that is familiar that you can take to new contexts, and it stays the same when other things change. So that's why it can help a dog to engage in the same behaviors they can engage in a, say, in their safe space, because not everything is totally new, and it is actually a cue for them to try out those enrichment behaviors that worked in the presence of this prop in their safe space or wherever you started training. Now, what kind of props to use? Food toys are their own prop. So any kind of food toy, if you can take it with you, that can serve as a generalization aid for enrichment. A lot of nose work or scent work classes use cardboard boxes as part of the game, and those can also serve as a prop or a generalization aid for enrichment activities as you try to teach your dog that they can win this game lots of places. I used to use boxes more often in sniffing games, but so many of the dogs I work with are afraid of boxes. I have switched to smaller items that, in my experience, are less likely to scare them. And those include things like silicone coasters, like you see in the photo here with little Buttercup. Those yellow coasters are just silicone coasters. Snuffle mats, which you can get in small sizes, can be a really good prop for use in generalization exercises. And also lick mats are good, especially the silicone lick mats. Just a few photo examples. This is Sky, who you met last week, and she has pulled all these enrichment items into her bed. But some things that you see in this photo here that could serve as props to aid in generalization of enrichment related behaviors are cardboard boxes and her stuffed toys, and there's an egg carton there. So several things there that could serve as props. Here's Joey using some treat targets outdoors, and those are silicone coasters, and they serve as generalization aids for the behavior of walking, following the coasters and eating the treat. Little Randy, who you've also seen before. These, I think, are also coasters, and you see a plate as well, and sometimes his mom will use small plates instead of coasters. And Sky, again, in a different setting, here she is using, her mom is using snuffle mats as the treat target, as that generalization aid and a prompt, basically, to go there and check for food. Now, one thing that I probably don't emphasize enough, and I really wanted to make sure you walk away with today, is that props are not magic. They don't turn a scary situation into a safe one in the mind of your dog. So you can't usually say, teach your dog to enjoy a snuffle mat in their safe space and then take it, outside and expect that to be fine with your dog. That's probably way too big of a step for them. So what you want to do, and we'll talk more about this on Thursday when I'm back at 10 a.m. Pacific here, is you use these extensively where the dog is comfortable, the props, so that there's a nice, strong learning history of good stuff happening and them using their behavior in the presence of these props to make, food or whatever happen for them. And then as you start to generalize, you're going to do it so slowly. Like I said, like at least 10 times more slowly than you think you need to. And again, we'll talk about that on Thursday. So if you would like to get started with this and follow along this week, pick 2 to 3 props this week to try out in enrichment games for your dog. And it does not have to be a complicated enrichment game. It could literally be put out a snuffle mat with treats in it and go away. Or put down a silicone coaster with a little dab of peanut butter on it and go away. So I suggest trying out lick mats, snuffle mats, and or coasters if you haven't done this before. And then let me know what happens. Comment below the video, share photos or video if you can, and report back on your efforts. And then later this week we'll talk about how to start moving these props into new situations in a way that is actually helpful for your dog. All right, folks, thank you for joining me today. If you don't already have your free guide to your Fearful Dog's first enrichment game, you can get it here at dogkindtraining.com/fun. And again, later this week, Thursday and then Sunday, we'll be talking more about using enrichment to help your dog in situations in which they're uncomfortable by very slowly generalizing the enrichment games to new contexts. So join me Thursday morning if you can, and then Sunday again. All right, have a great day. I'll see you online.